Britain has agreed a trade reset with the EU, but is it a boost for British businesses? The UK and EU have agreed their most significant reset of ties since Britain left the European Union, with good news in particular for small food producers as Britain accepts EU oversight on standards that should reduce paperwork, and defence companies as Britain can be part of joint European procurement. Well, Kathleen Brooks is Research Director at XTB. Kathleen, how significant is this for the markets?
I think in the short term, it's not hugely significant because there are bigger global factors that are driving markets. But I think in the longer term, this really is important. If we think since Brexit, we've seen a weakening pound. We've never got back to those levels that the pound was at before Brexit. We've also had a valuation discount compared to a lot of our global peers for our stock markets, that anything that's closer to a market that's on our doorstep, that includes more than 400 million people, is going to be a good thing. But it's going to take a little while to seep through. We need to get the formal details and know when this will actually come into effect. But overall, I think it's very, very significant. Deepening economic cooperation is a positive for the markets, and it certainly shouldn't weigh on the markets, even though markets are a bit weaker at the start of this week, but that's due to other factors and nothing to do with the UK domestically.
Do you think that Britain, which of course has also recently announced trade deals with the US and India, is starting to look more investable from a foreign perspective?
I think 100%. I mean, it looks now, firstly, it was the timing of the trade deals. We were the first one to get one with the US. In the same week, we got a great trade deal with India as well. So I think it looks like it's open for business, that it is, in a really good location. It straddles both east and west. And so you can come here to business, but look at what you get, look at what you're open to. And I think the one outstanding piece is, of course, the EU, and that's been the elephant in the room for so long. If we can just bridge that gap, then, the UK should go back to its rightful place, really at the centre of finance. And I think by focusing more on agriculture, that could loosen some of the red tape around the city and around financial dealings with the EU as well.
Have we seen a positive reaction, Kathleen, in the pound today?
So the pound is higher today, and that's a function potentially of this. More so a function of weakness in the dollar after their downgrade by Moody's. So we've seen, overall weakness in the dollar across most of the G10 FX space. The euro is also doing very, very well. So I think that, the fact that they are leading this kind of push higher against the dollar is a sign that, close relations between the EU and the UK are good for both the EU and the UK together.
There was hope that British defence companies like Rolls-Royce and BAE Systems would get direct access to a €150 billion programme to rearm Europe. It looks like that will require further talks. Is that a disappointment?
I think that it's, this is a pathway to greater economic procurement, cooperation, and the procurement part of it, well, of course, Europe is going to want to defend their own first and protect their own first and spend with their own companies first. We did have Brexit after all. We're not rejoining the EU. So it's no wonder that we are not going to be given first dibs on that. However, it's a good thing because it suggests that we're certainly not at the back of the queue. And I think a few years ago, we really would have been. Things have changed dramatically, geopolitically, but also in the EU as well. Germany is loosening its fiscal strength. And I think the good thing for Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, and all of the other companies that support them in the UK is that they really do something very unique. They have a very unique offering that the EU does need. So I think it will lead to greater deals for both of them. I think it will lead to greater business and that greater revenues. And that's ultimately what drives the share price. So I think it will be good news over a long term. I mean, Rolls-Royce is a share that's performed very well over the last year or so. So we expect that to continue.
Does business still want to see the UK government go further, be bolder in moving back closer to the EU, though?
Absolutely, I think. So certainly certain segments of it do, because just for pure practical reasons. They are on our doorstep and it's over 400 million people. I mean, it seems ridiculous not to. I think a lot of businesses would feel like that. On top of that, there has been this one area that's always been forgotten about, and that is finance and the city. That was excluded from EU Brexit talks in favour of things like fishing. Well, now that seems to have been dealt with his veterinary bill and the UK giving some ground on fishing rights, then actually we can get down to business for something an area of the economy that is hugely important for the UK. So I think that will be the next step. And I think what's good is that this is a pathway to further cooperation with the EU, and it seems like we're firmly on that path now, which can only be a good thing for business.
That was Kathleen Brooks of XTB. Don't forget, you can watch more videos on Reuters.com.